Okay, we are live in the group. Hello, 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 beautiful people. Let's start recording. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another Heal the Unicorn podcast with myself, Yana Kasperczak, and Bethany Briggs. So, first, we want to practice and introduce, I guess, the podcast and how we're going to be starting it now. So, here's what it is. I want to let everyone know right off the bat, what is this podcast about? What can you expect from it? And is it really for you? And the best way how today I feel like explaining that would be is that this podcast that we do every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live in our Empath Unicorn Academy Facebook group, is for people who are into personal development, into personal growth, who are on the self-mastery journey, especially when it comes to their spirituality, because everything that we talk about, everything that we discuss touches upon spirituality one way or another. So this is what the podcast is about, is everything and anything for self-mastery, for yourself, that will help you to get your shit together and not only master yourself, but master your life. Because when you master yourself, your life just automatically falls into place and it becomes magnificent. So that's what we are here for. Okay. And now next, let's just talk about the topic. My mind is both of us had an interesting start to the day, and it's like, today is not the day. But we're gonna use this not today knowledge and wisdom and whatever comes through to help you. And at the same time, you get to see us on our shitty day. Right. This is my shitty day, so I'm not gonna speak for you, Bethany, but from what I heard, this is your shitty day as well. But it doesn't have to be the whole day. So we've already worked through it, but there's still a little bit lingering. And there are things and reasons for it. For me personally, my cycle is practically here. The outside is neither cold or hot. It's all over the place. But today's topic is lost or disoriented. Let's crack the code and expand with knowledge. So we're going to be talking about wisdom today. Bethany, why don't you start now? I feel like I need a break from talking.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So today, wisdom. Okay. So as if you've been following along, which I hope you have been, since the beginning of March, we've been talking about natural gifts that we're born with. And the first one was intuition, awareness, clarity. And then last week we didn't have our podcast, but I did do integrity, still in the group. And then today is wisdom. Now, all these things are a cycle. It's an ongoing cycle on your spiritual journey. So you're going to first get your intuitive hits. You're going to get your awareness. So with as I've been following along with my little story about my eating, my binge eating addiction, when I got that awareness of my old pattern, and then I was able to shift it, I got my clarity. So I was able to shift it to a new pattern of eating for health, for nutrition, for fuel, for energy only, and loving that I can control this thing about, I can control what I consume, because I can't control what other people are doing, but I can control myself. And that's another wisdom that I ended up learning from this whole pattern. And then so now after clarity, we get to the wisdom place. And well, let's back up. Integrity. I forgot to mention the integrity, because after you get the clarity, you got to bring your integrity in to keep you with your discipline, to help you stay respecting yourself, to help trusting yourself, and to keep you following your heart and honoring your truths, and just really being your true authentic self. So you get your integrity, and then you hit that wisdom. You get that wisdom where you get that knowledge, that expansion, that experience that helped, that you learned, and that maybe you're currently still learning, you're practicing, and you're currently still practicing. And then you're going off and you're sharing it with others and teaching others, as we do in this podcast right now. That's what wisdom is. We're sharing everything that we've learned. And that's kind of with my cycle. So then you hit the wisdom, and you're going to get that joy. What is joy? Well, joy is that happiness that cannot be broken. It will not go away. It is down in your heart, and it is going to be there and stay there. It's that a lot of people are like, what's the difference between happiness and joy? Well, with happiness, that can change because it's external. But when you go to joy, it's internal. And sure, you can have those moments where it kind of shakes you, but then you're able to go back in and be like, okay, well, here's my wisdom. This is what I learned from this. Or, like you go to your gratitude, and then it brings you back into that balance and well-being, to where you're like, ooh, I have my joy still. It didn't go anywhere because it's mine and no one can take it. But what else is wisdom? As we already mentioned, cracking the code. Cracking that code of, like, for me, it was my eating pattern. I cracked that pattern that I'd been living for years and years and years. And I wasn't realizing that it was a pattern. I just thought it was the way I was eating. And then I learned it was an addiction of binge eating that I had learned, but I had to take the steps to get there. And here I am on the other side of it. I'm still learning about it. I'm still practicing it, but I've learned that I feel so much better by practicing discipline, practicing self-respect, loving myself by not over consuming, and watching what I consume, and knowing that I can control that, because that's something else I worked through, is having the need to control things outside of me, because it helped me feel more secure. Okay, well, this is going to according to how I want it. But in all reality, if you do that, it causes more stress, because other people aren't going to do it the way you want to do it. Or maybe they might, but there's going to be something that's off, and it's going to trigger something. And for me, it was just that fact that I was just trying to control that, because I couldn't control myself. I wasn't controlling myself, controlling what I was consuming. I was just eating and eating and eating. So then I was like, well, I'm going to control this situation. And it just was an ongoing cycle. And then learning that, I can only control myself, and I'm really enjoying the way I'm controlling myself with what I'm consuming. And that's the big wisdom that I'm taking away from this, is those good feelings of vibrancy and being energized and being more optimistic and focused and clear-minded and balanced and peaceful. Like, as you mentioned, today was a little off. I woke up on the wrong side of bed. I just kind of woke up just not wanting to do anything. Just like, oh, today is just like day. And I realized it's because the last couple of days have been sunny. Today was really dull, dark. It was rainy. It was stormy. And so that shift change was going into my mood. But I took a step back. I still did my self-care in the morning, and then I was starting to get irritated with the people around me, and I had to stop for a minute. And I changed my channel, like you talked about, Yana, a couple weeks ago, or maybe, yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, where we can control what channel we're on. And I was on this channel that I didn't like. I didn't want to be there anymore. So I took a breath, I paused, I figured out what was going on. And then I said, I want to be on channel 7, because 7 is the number I rolled today. So real quick, instead of doing a tarot reading, I roll a dice. And then with numerology, I get what I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to know, or what the universe wants me to know. And that's when I kind of ask it, like, what do I need to know today? And I got a 7. And that's all about, alignment and reflection and transformation and changes, action and timing. And it was just like a really amazing energy shift, because I was like, okay, I want to be on that channel. I want to focus on my actions, my timing, and I want to go into my transformation and change to the point where I'm going to be reflecting more. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to get my alignment, and then I'm going to learn more wisdom, which is a beautiful thing. And also another thing with wisdom, it's your discernment. It's good judgment. Like, how is your judgment? Are you judging others for the way their hair looks? Like, that's not discernment. Have good judgment with other things, but also just have discernment. Judgment, discernment, that's the same thing. It's just different words. but practicing those things, that's also wisdom. And one last thing that I've written down here is wisdom is an ongoing journey. As we live, we'll gain more wisdom. And that's the beautiful thing about wisdom is we can always find more. You just go learn, go practice, go teach, go share, and grow, and then watch the expansion come. And in the end, it's going to make you be the best version of yourself that you can be today and the next day and the next day and the next day. But you got to figure out what your wisdoms are. And once you do, it's transformation. It's transforming. It's, you get all those good changes like I did with my eating style. And I got to say, me going through this month and then learning all this stuff has helped my journey with my binge eating addiction and that old eating pattern 100%. And I'm just grateful for this growth that happens. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I have right now. I don't know, you have a bunch of stuff to share, Yana, so take the stage.
I know, I can always have a lot to share. So what Bethany, you're saying is wisdom is learned, right? And wisdom, a lot of the wisdom we have is actually learned, which means that as we're going through our mundane life, we are being taught lessons, or we're learning lessons. And within those lessons, there's always nuggets, or at least one nugget of wisdom that we all pick up. So you were just talking about your journey with wisdom when it comes to nutrition, right? When it comes to eating, binge eating in particularly. And I want to touch points, I guess, a little bit on the other side of wisdom, which is wisdom that comes from just knowing. It's a sense of knowing. So some wisdom we're in a way born with. It's just the best way to describe it is it's in your blood. It's passed down generation after generation after generation in your bloodline, right? From your ancestors. So that's the wisdom that some of us also can refer to sometimes as intuition. It's like, I just know it. I don't know how, but I know it and it makes sense. And you're able to explain it, at least to a certain extent. Not everyone would understand it, but most people understand it. So that's part of wisdom as well, is that the learning and the knowing and the ability to express it, to communicate it. Now, we also all have the ability to tap into wisdom, right? That means you can go and learn from other people's wisdoms, that things that they have learned, things that now they are, or they have, depending if they're still here or not, because we can go back many lifetimes and learn from the greatest people and their wisdoms. Often it also can be referred to as quotes, right? That's a quote is a nugget of wisdom that someone has become aware of. And it might, a lot of them might be with around the same thing, but said in a different way. So, and like I also said, you can go and talk to other people. You can learn from them. You can watch videos. You can learn from other people. And also you can tap into universal wisdom, which is through meditation, through changing your state of mind, through changing your brain waves, right? So that's the other part I wanted to share. Now I've also wanted to share maybe about 5 or 7 things that you can do to gain more wisdom, to have more wisdom. And the first one is, this is what Bethany and I were talking about before, is to change your environment, to change your scenery. And really, my way of putting it is pardon my language, but not part of my language. I'm just giving you heads up. Get the fuck out of your house, right? Stop sitting in your office or in your house, and get out of the house and go and explore the world, because you are not growing by staying in the same place. You got to get out there. And think of it this way. Your office, your house is so tiny in comparison to the entire world, to this universe, and you cannot experience it. You can through meditation or visualization, but it would not be the same. So you got to get out of the house, and it will change your state as well. Also, let's look at the example of the stars. The stars, they're never the same. They're never in the same place. They're never in the same spot. They're always changing, right? This is the wisdom of the ancients, where they look up and they're like, if the stars are always changing, so shall I. So why? This is the kind of wisdom that, write it down, right? Like, write this shit down and put it as a reminder for yourself on your phone, on your wall, anywhere. These things that stand out to you, write them and use them as reminders for yourself. And so the next thing is, let me see. You have to go beyond your local boundaries, is where you will find the wisdom. That's why I know, Bethany, you know people who have traveled the world. I know people who have traveled the world. And there's always something about those people that have traveled the world. And that something is a shit ton of wisdom that we get to learn from them. So if you can't travel as much as you would like to, then connect with those people that do. They can share a lot of wisdom with you as well. But of course, if you have an option, then you go and travel yourself. The second thing of how you can have more wisdom in your life is shift your, and we talk about this a lot. We really do talk about this a lot. And how do I put it into like simple words? Most of our focus is on money. And we put very little value on things that matter. That's us, right? And who we are and what we do for ourselves and how we live our life. And we put way too much worth on financial wealth. And we forget the other part of wealth. And the other part of wealth is where wisdom comes from. Yes, of course, you're going to get some wisdom from chasing financial wealth. You will get a lot of wisdom, which will lead you to the other side of wisdom, which is wisdom of personal wealth, is what I'll call it, right? Your personal wealth of quality of your friends, not quantity, but quality of your friends, and quality of your life inside and out, and really just quality of everything that you have in your life. Having less, and that way you end up having more, and putting more value on yourself than on money, because this is a shiny little object that is being dangled in front of us on constant basis. No matter what you're watching, there's always something about money, and it is also a program. We forget that money, and also money can buy wisdom. Just an FYI, in case anybody's looking for, I'll buy some wisdom. I'll have a lot of money, I'll buy wisdom. You can't do that. It doesn't work like that. Let me see. If a little is not, this is a quote that I really like. If a little is not enough for you, then nothing is. Focus on building your intellect and virtue. Realize that money is just a tool and not your score in life. So that right there is wisdom, guys. Realize that money is a tool. It is a tool. And this tool is being dangled in front of us. Oh, look what I have. Look what you want. But like any tool, we can learn how to have it, how to use it, but not become obsessed over it. And that too many people keep a score of how much they make, how much they earn, how much they have. And that is, I personally have found that as a very unhealthy score to keep of money. And I know many people would say the same thing. So and let me go to the next one. This one I would call kind of like I want you to come to a grasp of reality that there's only one thing that you can control in life, and that is yourself.
Right.
And most importantly, your mind. And most importantly, your attitude. And most importantly, of how you show up in life, right? See, each one is most importantly, but it is really comes down to you, that you truly do not have control over the outside events, but you do have control and the power of your mind, right? You have the power over your mind and not the outside events, right? I just here's my hashtag, hit my hashtag. And I want you to realize that your strength that you have is nothing from outside of you. It's all from the inside of you. And that really what matters. The next thing, it goes right into the following thing, which is kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what some people might not actually understand this or realize it, but the people that have capacity for kindness are very wise, they're very smart, and they are the most intelligent people, because it takes an intelligent person to keep their mouth closed and not say what they know is not going to benefit the person or the situation. So that is why people who are kind, they always put their best foot forward, even though the worst foot wants to come through. Like for me today, the worst foot wanted to come through. And I had to tap in and reminding myself that I'm an intelligent person. So I need to be kind to myself. And sometimes we forget that as well, right? But it takes an intelligent person to be kind to someone. And life experience makes intelligent people as well. This one, Cato, the younger, summarized, I begin to speak only when I'm certain that what I'll say isn't better left unsaid. Like that is wisdom in one sentence, that, or one quote that might take time to understand that piece of wisdom. And all of us understand this piece of wisdom through life and through experience, learned wisdom. This quote is Cato, he learned this through experience, not just from reading books, but he learned it through experience. And it becomes what I like to call a cellular memory, where you just kind of know and it makes sense, even though it is in a way learned or downloaded. Right? Download is when we gain that knowledge from elsewhere, we just don't know where, and it just makes sense where like phrases or quotes come through. The next one, I touched up on this a little bit, but it's the power and the value of true friendships. Now, what do I mean when I say true? And this word is the key to this puzzle of a friendship. True friendship is a friendship that you have with someone where you can literally be your true authentic self, and you can open up and share the embarrassing parts of yourself, of your journey, of your story, right? The time that maybe you pooped yourself, right? Or peed yourself. Those things that you can share with people and trust that they're not going to, accept you for them, or in spite of them, or for them. You know what I mean? So that is what I mean by true friendship. And let me see. Here's this quote: "Friendship improves happiness and abates misery by doubting our joys and dividing our grief." So that's what a friendship is meant to be like. Now, having said that, if there are people that came to mind that do not belong on this list of friends, put them on your list of acquaintances, right? A friend circle is not meant to be a giant one. It's meant to be in one or two hands, right? Depending on how many fingers you have. Maybe you're the lucky one who has 11 fingers in total. So you're allowed to have 11 friends. The rest of us, either 10 or 9 or 7 or whatever number you have on your hands, use your hands, right? Why not? And that's what our friends are for, is to help us through our journey by, I'm going to read the quote again. "Friendship improves happiness and abates misery by doubling our joys and dividing our grief." So, meaning that friendship is meant to improve our happiness. And if it's not improving our happiness, it ain't a friendship. And it's supposed to help to heal, to soothe, to minimize our misery, our pain and suffering, and doubling our joy. We're supposed to feel happier and more joyful when we're with our friends, and dividing our grief, right? That we don't carry the grief on our own, or our friends help us. So there you go. State of mutual trust. That's another way of looking at it. So clear out those fake friends and just focus on the people that really do matter, that are here for you. Next one is, and this one I know is going to be a huge one for many, many people, especially given what we have gone through in the past 2 years, where a lot of people have, let's call it clear mind and clean mind. And that goes, this is all about altering substances, and most importantly, not using them. And specifically about drugs and alcohol, because we are not truly ourselves when we are under the influence. And given the state of the world, and where more people were going through extremely hard times, they have found a crutch of drugs or alcohol, and it is not meant to be that way. I'm not telling you to completely stop and not be social, because this is my social time. This is, this is how I do things, and I don't want to be the weirdo that doesn't drink. I'm that weirdo now. I used to feel that same way, whereas now I'm like, I don't care. You can call me weird. I don't drink. And everyone has learned to accept it. And do they judge me? I don't care, because what other people think and say about me is none of my business. And it's much easier to live life that way. And I tell my kids this all the time. Oh, this person is saying this and not about me. Why are you making it your business? It's none of your business. Let them be. Is that really you? No. So don't make it you by continue to do well and breathe life into it. So anyways, let me quickly look through what else is here. So basically what I'm talking about is escaping pain, that we use it as a crutch, as a way to escape pain. And I'm here to tell you that no one healed and no one got better from escaping pain, from not dealing with it. No one ever did. No one. Yes, you might feel better in the moment when you use. We all do. No one is perfect. But the next day, it's there. Or maybe even not the next day, when it wears off, it's there, right? You're never going to escape it. So, because you're not meant to. You're not meant to. We talk about this very often, is because what you're trying to escape is, it's a fear in some sort. Fear, anxiety, discomfort. That's what you're trying to escape. And the only way to get this out of your life is to actually embrace it, is to actually deal with it, is to actually heal through it, is to actually face it, is to actually say, fuck, fine, I'll get my shit together and I'll do this, right? Without putting a time limit on it. And I wanna stress this point. For most people, some people do really great with the time, with having fence and cage around them in a way. That's how I feel about setting these times. For some things it works, for other things it does not. When it comes to your personal journey and well-being, you can't do that, right? It's a natural process, and these boxes and these parameters are not natural. This is a man-made concept, right? We were not meant to, like, time is also a man-made concept. This one here is Pythagoras. As Pythagoras explains, strength of mind tests in sobriety, for this keeps your reason unclouded by passion.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And true freedom is gained by overcoming the struggle within. That's where true freedom comes from.
From
The
your
struggle
wisdom.
that we feel, right? The struggle that we feel, anything that is catabolic, negative, bad feelings, emotions, thoughts, energies, experience, interpretations, assumptions, all of that is of the mind. And by us overcoming that is where we truly feel free, because we are then able to show up as our true self, as the unicorn that we're meant to be. And we do all have difficult moments. Like, every single person on this planet has difficult moments. Some moments are a lot more difficult than others. That
Right.
is the universal truth. And I'm not here to tell you that your moments are less than anyone else's, because they're not. They are the worst for you, which cannot simply be compared to anyone else. That's it. This is your worst moment, and that's it. Don't even try to compare it to others. We do this very often. Sometimes it does make us feel better, but in the long run, it does not. And in this journey, this is where true, when we are working on ourselves and our mind, this is where true wisdom and strength is gained. It comes from within. It's not from outside, it's from within. And that's why we can read other people's wisdom, but until you understand it from inside out, until you feel it, until you fully understand it with your body, it will be something outside. It will be an external wisdom. It won't be an internal wisdom. So this one, I think, will be the last one. And it's this simple truth that we've also talked about many times, Bethany, you know this, is that the moment that you decide and realize and accept that this life is yours and yours only, and that you take full and complete responsibility of it, that's the moment that, how do I put it? That's a moment of wisdom, because once you fully realize it, you are the wise one. And once you start taking ownership of everything and saying, okay, right, not necessarily saying everything is my fault, everything is my fault. There's a way to say it, right? And there's a way to say it that isn't a positive way of saying it, and a way to say it that isn't a negative way, where you're saying, it's the intention behind it, really. Are you saying it from a place of, for me, these things are always happening to me? Or are you saying it from a place of, okay, so that's okay. This is what happens. I take complete and total responsibility and ownership of this. Now what? Right? Where do I go from here? Without looking at anything or anyone else to blame, and completely saying this, there's not even any judgment that happens when something happens, that this is what it is. Okay, now where do we go? Because you already know that you are responsible for it, and you're not looking at anyone else to do anything about it, to fix it, or to make you feel better or anything like that. It just comes from within. And each one of these, really, that I mentioned is a journey on its own, right? Each one of them. So now I think, yeah, really just conquering yourself. Let me see. Oh, this quote was really good. Let me see where it starts. Here. The first and the greatest victory is to conquer yourself, to be conquered by yourself. Of all is all. I'm gonna start again because it's not even coming out of my mouth properly. Here we go. Rewind. And by the way, I guess this would be a perfect time to say these videos are #unfiltered. We don't filter these videos. We don't edit these videos. This is how it is, and you get everything that we kind of going through when we are creating these videos. So the first and the greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile. And that was Plato who said it.
That's wonderful.
Like, to really think about it, what is Plato saying? Plato is saying that the first and the greatest victory is to conquer yourself, is to, in other words, what this podcast stream is all about is self-mastery, is to master thyself. I like the word die. Is to master yourself. That's the first and greatest victory. And if others conquer you, right? The way that I would call it is like, if you allow others in to tell you who you are, what you are, they will beat you down. They will conquer you. And that is the most shameful and vile thing that you can allow to happen in your life. And I'm here to tell you that I lived most of my life ashamed and feeling like disgusted by myself because I allowed that to happen. Because I allowed others to conquer me, to silence me, to quiet me down. And another thing I also learned is that when it comes to public speaking, or just speaking to people or in front of people, none of us are actually born scared of it. None of us are scared of public speaking. It's what we do. Because if we were afraid of it, our diapers would have never been changed. We would never be fed. We would never be burped, because we'll be silent. We would not be speaking. That's where public speaking starts. And then as we grow up, we are told by everyone around us to shh, be quiet. Don't talk so loud. Indoor voice. And then in class, we are also called upon when we are not raising our hand. And that startles us, that scares us. Then we feel like we are embarrassed and we're shamed for it. And I learned that. This is one of the wisdoms that I've learned over my lifetime, my journey, just looking back of when did I really stop speaking publicly? And that was the way that we were all brought up back in Russia, in school, most importantly, where you got to be quiet, you have to sit still and be a good little girl. And that's not the way to live life. And stop blaming others. Stop blaming others for the way that your life is. It's your life, it's not theirs. We cannot blame others for the way our life is. So now, Bethany, talk.
Well, thank you for sharing all that wisdom with us. That was really awesome. You kind of touched upon some points that I was going to talk about, but I'm going to say them in different ways. So I wanted to talk about how ways, I guess, that I've found to have wisdom, because as I've talked about wisdom, that's your experiences. So what you went through. And a big thing is teaching others. And I know I kind of mentioned that earlier, but it's like something that I do, like when I post my quotes every day, or when I go on and do yoga, or just any kind of like informal, my reflection talk, that's me sharing wisdom with you guys. And you can do that too with your passions. So sharing your passions and teaching others your passions, because when you teach, you're actually gaining more wisdom from that in return, because you get to learn it deeper on a deeper level. And a big one is following your heart, listening to that call of your heart. When you have that feeling of, this is my passion, this is what I want to do, this is what's going to make my heart sing. That is your heart telling you about wisdom, being like, wisdom right here. And that's your body naturally on the inside telling you. And what you brought up with intuition, like the intuitive knowing, if like with the whole cycle, wisdom and intuition are right next to each other. So you get that intuitive wisdom and you have wisdom as well, because it's just an ongoing cycle of self-mastery, really, by hitting and your spiritual awakening. Another thing that helped me a lot, like you said, meditation, but I'm going to go a little deeper, is all of mindfulness practices. So not just meditation, but also your breath work can also bring some wisdom. Yoga, because it's all about unity with yourself and getting in touch with yourself. So, as you were saying, Yana, don't mask it. It's like what I was doing with my old eating habit. I would mask the pain I was feeling, the discomfort from what I was eating. And then I would just go on this ongoing cycle. And the minute I stopped masking it was a really big moment. And I had that realization like, oh, well, this makes sense now. But mindfulness has been a huge thing for me personally to learn my own wisdom, like you said, that inner knowing wisdom. So I'm really glad you brought up everything you did, because there's some really good knowledge in there, and the wisdom you're sharing with all of us, just like with what I do and all the wisdom I share with all you guys. And then one last thing I'm going to mention, nature, going out to get wisdom, that natural wisdom from Mother Nature herself. You could go sit down outside and you can watch the patterns around you and you can learn wisdom from that. I recently took a permaculture course, and what permaculture is, it's designing your land to regenerate, to not degrade, to be self-sustaining so it can feed your generations on and on and on. And that's also finding the wisdom that's already in the land. And you can take that to yourself and do the same design for your own body. And that's really just going within, like we talked about, listening to your wisdom. There's this thing I wrote out that goes along with this. Oh, here it is. So we're consciously designing our lives, mindset, body, to help ourselves regenerate balance, our health, and have more well-being. As we look to our patterns and design them for efficiency, don't like what you see, change it. Make a more as I get tongue-tied, a more regenerating pattern. So like with my eating that I did, I decided to go in with my wisdom and come out with a more healthy and more loving approach, a more disciplined approach. So that was a big thing, learning that in permaculture, because I was able to connect it to my own body, what I'm doing, and learning these patterns, going within, finding these patterns, changing it, and just learning all this wisdom all in all. But yeah, you gotta go learn, go teach others. That's my main thing, is once you learn something, don't hold it in, because someone else is going to take that wisdom and it's going to go through their lens of what they're seeing, their perception, and they're going to come out with it something totally different. And another thing is be your true self. Like you already said, Yana, being your true authentic self is so, so, so important. And especially with access.
So hard.
And it is hard, yes. But when you go on that journey of learning wisdom and your intuition, awareness, and clarity, that wisdom comes naturally, and then you're hit with joy and you're able to experience that. But it takes, and everyone's journey is different. Like my journey, and it's never going to end, but I've started this journey over 3 years ago fully. Like 3 years ago. And I've learned so much. I've gained so much wisdom, but I'm still learning more. And that's so exciting about wisdom. Like I was saying, it's ongoing, and it's just, there's more to learn out there. There's more to consume in a healthy way, in a more expanding and empowering way. And so that's also going back to my pattern, is that's what I'm choosing. Instead of consuming stuff that's draining me and bringing me down, I'm consuming that wisdom. I'm consuming that stuff that's lifting me up. And I'm just going to say one of my quotes real quick, while I'm on here, because this is kind of my closing thoughts for what I have. So when the lesson emerges, take the time to access your intuition, awareness, and clarity to help bring wisdom and joy into your mind, body, and spirit. All experiences are lessons. So what can you learn from it? What is the golden nugget? Go within. The answers will always be revealed. Go within, do the deep work to help you achieve that limitless feeling of joy.
Mm-hmm. And that's where freedom is.
Mm-hmm.
It's going in deep within yourself, really truly taking the time to get to know who you truly are, because you are not being your true self 100% of the time. And I was listening to you, Bethany, talk about wisdom, intuition, joy, happiness. What I heard from that was that joy exists in your true self. Joy does not exist in the fake you that you're putting out there, that you're allowing people to see, whether you are aware of it or not. But if you were your true self, you would show up in a different way. What is that different way to you? Right? Take the time to write that down for yourself. Do a little bit of homework. How you're showing up today. Use today as an example. And if this was the true you, the real, authentic you, how would you show up, right? Mm-hmm. For example, when I worked at the bank, I was quiet and I was timid and I wanted to be the good girl. That's how we were raised. Good girl, bad girl. Simple, right? Black and white. Well, it's not like that. And it's a really bad label. And anyways, so I was raised to be a good girl, and good girls, they behave in a certain way, they do certain things, and um, they're calm, cool, and collected. Everything that I'm not, okay? Well, I mean, I am calm, cool, and collected, but I am also a lot of fun when I have a lot of energy and I got to expel that. So what I started doing after a few years of being at the bank is I allow my true self to come through. So I would come into work, and if I feel like singing, I'm going to be singing. And there was this song, I don't remember what it was, but the song that was stuck in my head for a couple of days in a row, and I would come in and I would sing it. Long story short, everyone loved me singing in the morning, and in specifically this song, my manager requested that every morning when we start our meeting, I would sing. Now, public speaking has never been my thing, but when I am myself and I'm not pretending, it's so much easier, because then at that point, I don't give a fuck if I'm being judged or not, because this is the real me. If you don't like it, I don't care. At least I'm not lying and pretending to be someone I'm not. But if I'm trying to be somebody I'm not, and somebody calls me out on it because it feels like being called out on it, then that is when all shit will hit the fan, so to speak. Right? And that won't be clean, that won't be pretty. So that's why it's important. This is what self-mastery is. Self-mastery is you knowing who you are and being yourself no matter what, and not allowing anybody else to shut you up or to change or to put you in a corner. Like this thing phrase came into mind: who put the baby in the corner, right, from Dirty Dancing. And it's kind of like that same thing. Don't be baby, don't be sitting in the corner. Speak up for yourself, stand up for yourself, say what you want, or maybe why you want it. And then when you do, you get to do the dirty dancing. Right?
Yourself and shine bright. That's what I like to say. I remind myself, shine bright, because we all shine bright.
Yeah. And there are going to be days when you won't feel like you want to shine, and that's okay. For me, believe it or not, today is one of those days that I don't really care to shine much.
Yeah. Felt that way earlier, but then I was able to, like, as you mentioned, the channel changing a couple weeks ago, that was a huge shift for me. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to change that channel. But yeah, I feel you on that. Today, I'll be honest with everyone, I did not want to do this today. Like, I was like, no, I just want to sleep, be in bed all day. But you know what? We both pulled through, and we decided to not let ourselves go into a victimhood. We decided to shine bright still, regardless, and be our true authentic self. And so our example right here is even wisdom in itself, to be your true authentic self.
Yeah. And we, like, what we're talking about is having not such a great day. I don't like to call bad days and good days. It is easier for most people to differentiate a good day and a bad day, and then a normal day, like a zombie day. But we do remember the good days and the bad days, but we don't remember the mundane days. So what does that mean? That means that each one holds wisdom, holds knowledge, holds experience, holds something in there for you. What is it? Go find out, right? So for me, it'll be my own things that I'm working through, that I'm healing through, that, my routines, my lifestyle is changing. So it's affecting my mood. And that happens with all of us. Our mood gets affected. But the difference is that I have taken the time to, even though like I still feel like I'm not burning as bright because my body's going through changes, that I take the time to remind my mind that is trying to chatter at me and tell me, and this is going to be a great leadway into next week. We're going to be talking about the gremlin, where the gremlin is telling me all these things. Well, you'll get to know more of that in the next week, but it really is trying to keep me safe and small and reminding me of why I could potentially be feeling this way. And when I take the time to poke at each thing that it's saying to me, the bubble bursts, because there is no substance in there. There's no truth in there, because then I talk and sit down with myself and my higher coach, and I really get to why I'm feeling that way, and it just makes sense, because often we just have to look back of what we did the night before, the day before, what's new that we introduced. Anytime we're changing a habit, it's going to mess us up a little bit. It takes some getting used to. So that's where my flicker is not as bright, but that does not stop me from helping everyone else with everything that I've gained. Right? Just like with you, Bethany, it's not stopping you and preventing you from sharing your knowledge and wisdom for everyone, with everyone.
Right, exactly. Yep, we're not being the victim.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you, Bethany. You already closed with the quote, so that was great. Now we'll close with this last question. What is the one thing that you have decided you're going to be working on? And the second thing is, when do you plan on starting it? And the when of you starting it should not be, I'm going to shoot on you, should not be on a future date, on a future time, which is today, yes, but not on a future date. So do not put off whatever you said you're going to do, because if you put it off, you're less likely to do it. And the longer you put it off, the more likely you are to forget it and never do it. Am I right, or am I right?
Right, exactly. No, that's awesome. That's a great way to end it. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you, Yana, for being here. I appreciate all of our viewers and everyone that's interacting. Thank you. It's been a fabulous episode. That's been so, like, I've learned a lot of wisdom just from listening to you, Yana, and that's what I love about our weekly episodes is, you know what, we're gaining wisdom, we're teaching wisdom, and then we're also gaining it, and it's a beautiful thing. So thank you again, and thank you for everyone that keeps us going. We appreciate you all.
That's right. And thank you, Bethany, for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, because I learned that integrity is a big part of wisdom as well. Now, integrity of how I'm going to apply it to the end is the action taking. When you say you're going to do something, you go and do it, right? Otherwise, you're not being a man. What is it? I'm a man to my word, or a woman to my word. You're not being the woman to your word. You're not being the man to your word. And if we have anything, it's our words. So if you're going to say them, you're going to do it. Otherwise, there's a whole entire exercise that I can take you through when it comes to your integrity. And you will get to see why integrity is a huge part of why you're actually miserable now.
Yeah.
So, anyways, other than that, if you like this podcast, please share it with somebody else that you know can benefit from it, or on your platform, even better, because there's guaranteed more than one person on there. Please do them a favor and us as well, because we want to get this out to as many people as we can, because wisdom is a skill. It is a skill that any one of us can acquire, and most importantly, then spread throughout our journey and anyone that we come across in that journey. it's extremely valuable, as you can probably tell by the end of this video, or maybe even not by the end. But anyways, that's it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Subscribe and follow us. And until next time, when we'll be talking about the gremlin, we'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.